Welcome to the North Bay chapter of Trout Unlimited. National Trout Unlimited's story begins with a chance meeting on the Osable River in Michigan in 1959. Two men named George, American Motors CEO George Mason, and prominent conservationist George Griffith, were waiting in line to launch their skiffs for a day's float down the river. A charter member of Ducks Unlimited, Mason imagined a new organization built on the DU model, but dedicated to protecting his first love, wild trout streams, which were suffering under the weight of pollution, poor management, and a hatchery system that was pumping 1.5 million catchable trout a year into Michigan streams and decimating the wild brown trout fishery. Griffith believed there was a need for some organization to be thinking about where the trout come from, where they live, what kind of home they have, rather than just the harvest. It took 9 years to make some medicine, as Griffith liked to say. TU held its first official meeting in Grayling, Michigan. More than 250 members, friends, and media attended. Mason, sadly, had passed away a few years earlier, but the group did include a rod maker and wild trout evangelist named Art Neumann. Neumann, who was then TU's temporary and unpaid executive director, began hearing from people across the country who were requesting certification as chapters. He set to work with one goal in mind: transform TU from a Michigan-based movement into a national conservation leader. In 3 years, he doubled the size of the organization, starting up 30 new chapters. The first national campaign win came in the early 1960s when Montana's River Rats chapter saved 20 miles on the Big Hole River from inundation by stopping the construction of the Reichel Dam. Local activist George Grant led the charge. From the beginning, TU has built upon its reputation as an organization of conservation-minded anglers who rely upon sound scientific principles to promote quality trout and salmon fisheries for their intrinsic value as reminders of ecological health. Almost 5 decades later, TU is 150,000 members strong with over 400 chapters nationwide. One of these chapters is North Bay Trout Unlimited, the oldest existing chapter in California. In 1972, Chuck Voss, the executive director of TU, came to Marin County and established the chapter. It wasn't long before the new officers, Robert Hart, Ron Grass, and Gordon Ehrman, encouraged the Department of Fish and Game to establish a wild trout program, bringing to light the unethical and unlawful practices of snagging steelhead and salmon in many of the small creeks. The early 1980s marked the beginning of North Bay Trout Unlimited stream habitat work with the construction of a fish ladder near the Marin Town and Country Club in Fairfax and a second one at Saunders Avenue in San Anselmo. In 1982, hatch boxes were placed on tributaries of Lagunitas Creek containing 20,000 coho salmon eggs, which were decimated by the torrential rains of 1983 along with the hatch boxes. In 1984, a fish ladder was completed on the Giacomini Ranch in Point Reyes, as well as a fish ladder installed in Fairfax, Cascade Creek. 1984 saw the great weekend for the fish, with trees planted, gabions placed to diminish erosion, fences built to exclude cattle, check dams constructed to slow the flow on hillsides with a Hewlett ramp created to provide holding water for young fish. Rearing troughs were constructed behind the Marin Municipal Water District Treatment Plant in San Geronimo Valley in 1985. Volunteers fed and cared for 24,000 young coho, releasing them as fingerlings. Eggs were collected from the returning adults for fertilization in the improved hatchery over the next few years, resulting in a return of over 500 fish into the Lagunitas system in 1995. In the same year, an informational kiosk and plaque honoring Leo T. Cronin was installed by MMWD at the salmon viewing area near Shafter Bridge. Leo was the leading force for Nbtu projects and the beneficiary of many awards from the community as well as TU National. Work continued through the 1990s with a 10-year Great Weekend Anniversary Workday. Volunteers installed large woody debris, providing shelter from predators for the young fish. The year culminated in the removal of Roy's Dam and the addition of a fish ladder, which was partially funded by a TU Enhance a Stream grant. Bruce Babbitt, then U.S. Secretary of the Interior, accepted TU's invitation to come and help tear down the dam. More work continued into the new century with the focus on Devil's Gulch, a major tributary of the Lagunitas system. Exclusionary fencing was erected, trail work with new footbridges away from spawning fish were constructed, failing culverts were replaced by wet crossings, and native plants were reintroduced. Gates were also replaced along with rail fences, and information signs were posted. Nbtu received the Best Chapter Award in 2006. In 2009, National TU's 50th anniversary, the best 10 were named, those 10 TU volunteers who had given the most to TU over its lifetime. Longtime North Bay TU member Stan Griffin was one of those named for his work locally and throughout the state. That same year, North Bay Trout Unlimited began its work with the National Park Conservancy in Redwood Creek near Muir Beach, assisting in the return of the creek to its natural flow. Native plants were reintroduced near the reconstructed lagoon to serve as a resting place for arriving adult coho salmon. Bundles of small wood were attached to the stream bed to provide shelter for newly hatched fry. Nbtu considers Redwood Creek and Devil's Gulch Creek important ongoing projects and will continue to support the work there. Grants to repair wet crossings and another to install large woody debris are designed to provide refuge for fry from predators. In 2011, Nbtu was recognized as having the most outstanding website by TU National. And in 2012, we were presented the Ted Wellman Award by the Marin Conservation League for demonstrating high standards for protecting and preserving water resources in Marin and the state. One weekend each fall, over 100 kids and adults annually attend our popular First Cast event. This instructional event is designed to teach 8 to 18-year-olds the basics of fishing, including casting, stream entomology, knot tying, fly tying, and equipment care and handling. 2 additional stations, one teaching arts and crafts for younger children, and another teaching fly casting for adults, are featured. North Bay Trout Unlimited also provides a follow-up day to give kids a chance to apply what they've learned. For the past 25 years, Chuck Schultz and the volunteers of North Bay Trout Unlimited have equipped classrooms in Marin, Sonoma, and San Francisco with insulated aquariums. Children of all ages have learned about trout and the habitat needed to help them survive. Working in coordination with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, Marin Municipal Water District, and Project Wild, the program has been an ongoing and growing success, reaching nearly 15,000 North Bay students over 25 years. Department of Fish and Wildlife organizes the program regionally and coordinates permitting, seminars for teachers, and Nbtu mentors new to the program, as well as providing curriculum assistance to the teachers. Department of Fish and Wildlife then arranges for fertilized eggs to be packed, transported, and delivered to each school by Nbtu mentors. Each student drops their egg into a ready tank. They eagerly watch their eggs develop and hatch into albion that eventually become free-swimming fry. During this time period, teachers apply techniques and activities in environmental education. The fish are then transported to Upper Lagunitas Creek to be released into their new habitat. In 2009, our program coordinator Chuck Schultz earned the National TU's Youth Education Award for his long and successful leadership career of our Trout in the Classroom program. Our chapter's general membership meetings continue to provide interesting and informative lectures and guest speakers covering such topics as conservation, fishing venues, the latest fly fishing techniques, and fly tying. Annual outings for members, families, and guests to Northern California's fabled trout hotspots such as Hat Creek and Manzanita Lake are an added benefit to membership in this chapter. We take part in statewide activities designed to influence legislative action to support conservation concerns. Fly casting competition between members of the legislature help focus their attention upon our conservation objectives. And now for a tour of some of the successes of the volunteer efforts from North Bay Trout Unlimited members, here's board member Fred Mack.
Today we're out moving through the San Geronimo water system, looking at the fruits of our efforts. We have coho in the Lagunitas arm of the San Geronimo Creek. We've also found coho in Devil's Gulch, another spawning stream. So in 2 of the sites that we worked on in the past years, we have coho moving through those sites right now today, and that's what you're seeing. We're about 100 yards off of Sir Francis Drake Boulevard on Lagunitas Creek, which it leads up to the base of Kent Dam. A number of beautifully bright crimson red females moving upstream as well as making their nests. Actually, there's 4 fish in that hole. I'm seeing 4 fish in there. There's a female in the front left, there's one coming up behind her right now, and there are 2 more males behind her. This is the efforts definitely of the many volunteers that Trout Unlimited has put into this creek for 40 years. Our hatch boxers actually were put into practice 35 years ago, and the runs we're seeing now are a result of the work that those guys did 40 years ago.
As you have seen, North Bay Trout Unlimited has been and continues to be a dynamic leader in the National TU's goal to conserve, protect, and restore America's trout and salmon fisheries and their watersheds. We invite you to look at our website at nbtu.org. Thank you for watching this.